What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a 2011 Toyota Camry. I'm gonna be doing an oil pan gasket on this. It only has like 68,900 miles, somewhere around there, but it is leaking. You can smell it when it's running. If you got it like turn it off, you can smell the oil burner. But this one right here, you can use silicone or a gasket. So I'm gonna do kind of like a little combination of both. I'm gonna put paper gasket on here. This is the Felpro one, OS 30822. So I'm gonna put a little bit of silicone on that, on both sides of it, and that maybe hold a little bit longer than the factory one did, because like I said, this only has 68,900 miles on it. Oil filter right here, we just got a microguard, MGL 57047. It is a cartridge filter, and then we have 5 quarts of 020 synthetic. This is a Raleigh brand. Customer wanted to keep it as cheap as possible, so I understand that, you know, people on a budget type thing. So I did drive it about 35-40 minutes back from where the customer was, and I had the hood open, letting it cool down. Yeah, she's cool, pretty cool. If you can touch this heat shield, it should be good enough. I do like to keep it a little bit warmer so the oil drains out a little bit better. But you're gonna have to drain the oil. I'm gonna put it up on some ramps and stuff. A little bit of an overcast day, so it's gonna be a little bit cooler, which isn't too bad right now. Shouldn't have a lot of background noise with lawnmowers and stuff like I typically do. But let me grab this, put this up on some ramps, and we'll get started. All right, first things first, we're underneath here, and we're going to go ahead and drain the oil. It should be a 13 or 14 millimeter. Most of them are 14s on these. Let's scoot this over, and it wasn't long ago he had his oil changed, which is unfortunate, but he wanted to go ahead and do it now because he still has, God, about 4,000 miles left until his oil is due for another change. So we're gonna let this drain out, and then once it drains, I'll put the plug back in there. I'll change out the washer on here too, because I got some of the rubber encased washers. Now some of these you may need to use a swivel with, but I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling them off. So there's this cover right here, and then there's some bolts up in there around the oil filter housing area, and see if I can get y'all to see that one. That's up there behind that, and then they're around just on the perimeter of it. The hardest ones are going to be this side over here next to the frame rail. But let me go ahead and start pulling all the rest of these off, and then once I get ready to pull the pan down, I'll show y'all what it looks like to pull it down and how you can maneuver it without doing any exhaust manipulation. Alright, so on this one right there, it is so close to here that you can't get a universal and socket in there because it hits, and it's too thick to go between the frame rail and the oil pan. So I'm using a 1/4 inch extension, swivel, and socket. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm using. Pretty much that's what I'm using right there. Like I said, it's just a 1/4 inch 10 millimeter, 1/4 inch universal, and then 1/4 inch extension on a 3/8 adapter. So, and that should fit right up in there with no issues. Okay, so I just used this little thin screwdriver right here, put it into the back of it, and it popped out actually fairly easy. Now you're probably going to have some oil coming out of it still, because it doesn't get all of it out of this back side. Oh, there we go. I'm try to get it where I don't lose as much oil as possible. Alright, and there we go. And our pan is out. Now you are going to have to clean up the pan if you're reusing it. If you're putting a new one on there, you don't have to clean this up. But either way, you're still going to have to clean up the engine block right here where the pan meets it, because it does have silicone all around it. So I'm going to pull my drain pan back over here, because this is just going to continue to drip. There's a little bit of road debris right there, but we're going to pull this over here just so it keeps dripping into the drain pan. So there it is right there. I'm going to clean all this up. I'm going to use this scraper right here. This is a carbide scraper. This is a Matco brand, but Lyle makes it for them. You can get these for about $25–30 from Lyle. From Matco, these are about $60, but I'm going to use that, clean up all this stuff right here. And it was leaking around the back side over here. As you can see, it's a little thinner right there, but it was leaking on this side over here. But I'm going to clean all this up, and then we're going to put the new gasket and silicone on it, and then I'll bring y'all back whenever I get ready to do that. All right, we got it cleaned up and we got some silicone on it now. I just put a bead around there and kind of went over it with my finger real lightly. And the paper gasket that we got was the wrong one, so we're just going to go with straight silicone, because that's what come off of it. And it did last at least 70,000 miles, so hopefully it lasts another 70,000. But we got, let me get this little piece out of here. So we're going to go underneath there, slide this back on, and then once I get it started, I'll get all the bolts on, and then whenever I get ready to torque it down, I'll tell y'all what the torque is, and we'll go from there. I got the oil pan on now, and I just got to torque the last bolt. And the torque spec on these, from what I read, is between 7 and 10 foot-pounds, or 84 to 120 inch-pounds. But the torque wrench I have, the lowest it'll go is 10 foot-pounds on this, so that's what we're going to torque this one to. Like I said, it's got this one last bolt to torque. And kind of double check that I got a couple of these other ones. Yeah, I should be good to go now. Yep. Alright, so now all we gotta do is change the oil filter, which is right over here. See if I can show it to you. That's the oil filter right there. I'll show you the tool that I use for these Toyotas. It is a Blue Point. That is it right there. Part number is OFTOY 468, and it just slides on around and pulls it off fairly easy. Drain pan back over here. And these should only be torqued back to 25 Newton meters. Come on, see if I can get my tool back off of it. And I'll be honest, I cannot remember if I told y'all the part number to the oil filter. I did get a microguard. It is a MGL 57047. I'll show you the box here in just a minute. I'm just lubing up the O-ring on it now. Put this back on. Now these Toyotas have a little plug in the middle that you can drain the oil out of before you take the filter off. I typically don't do that. It's just a personal preference. You can do it if you want to. Come on, get on there. "25 Newton meters isn't much. It's roughly around like 10 to 15 foot-pounds. So you don't have to put a lot of torque on it. I typically don't torque them down. I just snug them down a little bit. Here's the oil filter. Like I said, I can't remember if I showed y'all the part number or anything. Like it says MGL 57047. We'll disregard this gasket because we don't need it. And this does use 0W20. Now it's a little bit of a long funnel, but I can't find my short funnel at the moment for some reason. Couldn't have anything to do with how dirty my garage is at the moment either. All I gotta do now is I'm gonna switch out the sticker on the inside for them, give them like a new updated time to change the oil. And I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit, let that silicone harden for at least an hour, hour and a half before I even move this, because I don't want any possibility of any leaks after this. But like I said, I don't want any leaks on this to try to keep that from going. But if y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I'll get to them as soon as possible. And y'all remember, torque this tight, and y'all have a great day.